Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of our podcast, #UniStuttgart International. Today, we would like to introduce you to another offer from the International Office, the German courses. We will be talking about different course options we have in store. We will hear some first-hand experiences from students, and we will talk to colleagues here at the International Office who grew up speaking other languages besides German. Since we are focusing on non-German speakers, this episode will be exclusively in English. Learning German is not the easiest of tasks. So that's why we would like to introduce you to our German course office today. If you are an international student, for example, who would like to study at a German university, oftentimes you will have to take German courses and pass an obligatory language test to certify your language level. And this is exactly what our preparatory German course with the following test of exam is intended to do. You do not necessarily need an admission to a degree program offered by the University of Stuttgart, but you do need an admission, or in German, Vormerkung, for the German course. So you will still need to go through an application procedure. For current application deadlines and course dates, please visit our websites. There you will find all the information you need as well as the relevant contact persons. You will find all the necessary links to our websites in the show notes. In contrast to the preparatory German course, the intensive and extensive German courses are aimed exclusively at exchange students who come from a partner university in the EU or from overseas, and for students in our selected international master's programs, as well as for students in double master's programs. So, you should spend at least one full semester at the University of Stuttgart. As the name already suggests, the intensive course takes place over the time of roughly 4 weeks, while the extensive course normally extends over the entire semester. These courses are offered at different language levels, and whether a course takes place, however, always depends on whether there are enough participants for the specific language level. The teaching locations can also vary. Both face-to-face and online courses are generally possible. Up-to-date information and more detailed instructions on the procedure can be found on our website as well. So be sure to check it out if you're interested.
So, without further ado, we would like to jump right into the next segment, where Vera from Finland will tell us a little bit about her experience with learning German at the University of Stuttgart. Let's start with the question, what did you like in particular about the German course?
In a German class, at the beginning we did a lot of group activities and got to know each other as well. We visited also Mercedes-Benz Museum, and at the end of the course we did a national food day where we brought national food from our own countries. And that was really nice way to learn from different countries and cultures. And also I liked a lot that we used German a lot in the class. I think it was very helpful that we weren't allowed to speak English in the class, at least in the B1.2 level. And it encouraged us all to use German as much as we could.
And what do you take away from the course apart from the language?
I met a lot of new people. I think a lot of the friend groups were built during the intensive German course. We were very intensively together the first 6-7 weeks. I got my friends from the course. I learned also a lot from the other cultures and countries. And of course, we learned a lot of things from Germany and Stuttgart too.
Have you learned a German word that you find very funny or special?
I think there is a lot of funny words in German language. Some of the words are funnier when you translate them to English than to other languages. The literal translation doesn't make sense in English, but it makes sense in other languages. Like Luftschloss, air castle, doesn't make sense in English, but in Finnish it does because we have the translation in Finnish for it. One particular word what I find funny is handschuhe. Handschuh because the literal translation is funny in all the languages what I speak. Why would I put shoe in my hand?
Yes, that really doesn't make any sense. So, last but not least, what advice would you give other students who want to learn German and what has helped you?
I have watched a lot of German TV series and movies, and I have learned a lot of words and phrases from there. I have also used app, which have been fun way to learn more German. But I think the best way to learn is just use the language as much as you can.
Thank you very much, Vera, for your insight in the German course at the International Office. We also went around in our office and talked with our colleagues and student assistants whose mother tongue isn't German. They also told us their story with a German word that they find especially funny or interesting.
I'm always fascinated by German words in which the same consonant occurs 3 times in a row, like Fitnessstudio with 3 times S, or Geschirrrückgabe with 3 times R, which means dish return, and so on. But my favorite German word is beziehungsweise, abbreviated in BZW. It is translated with or rather, or better, but also respectively sometimes. And I really like that you can express such a wide range of meanings in one single word, which doesn't exist in English or in Italian, my mother tongue. I like this word so much that I use it in German when I speak Italian with Italian friends who speak German as well and can understand what I mean, of course. And I have some difficulties when I cannot use it in other languages and I have to tell the same concept in another way and with more words. And it is not so beautiful as saying just beziehungsweise.
I think Feierabend is a funny and interesting word that I first heard on my first workday in Germany. If you translate it word by word, it means party night, but you'll be surprised to find out that it actually means end of work or quitting time, and it just sounds so cheerful and celebratory. It's like saying finally time to party after a long day of work. This is one of the most used goodbye phrases amongst work colleagues, and it doesn't really matter whether it actually is evening or not. So after finishing your workday, you'll usually wish to your colleagues schönen Feierabend.
I'm from Finland originally, so my mother tongue is Finnish, and pronouncing German is not particularly difficult for Finns, but there are some vowels that are different in Finnish. So I was really struggling to differentiate between the E and the E in German. I still need to concentrate to get that right. And during my first year in Germany, I was many times asked about living in Finland. So I was always telling about our wonderful forest and that we were picking berries there. Now, the German word for berries is Beeren, and the German word for bears, the animal bear, is Bären. And I couldn't distinguish between those. So I was always explaining that I was picking bears in the forest in my home country.
So one word that I find quite cute and fun in German is Faultier, which means sloth in English. And I think it's really funny because it literally means lazy animal, like faul is lazy and Tier is animal. And I think in general, German is full of these words that are very logical because they're like compounds of words and it makes sense, but they're funny when you think about it. For instance, Handschuhe, which means gloves, but it's like shoes for the hand and it makes fully sense, but it's also funny.
So it seems like those words that are put together from different components are really funny and I can totally understand. Then let's close this episode with some more tips for learning German.
One great way to do it is by reading online articles and following meme pages on Instagram. This will not only help you pick up new vocabulary, but it will also give you insights about the real spoken language in the everyday life in Germany. Plus, following meme pages on social media, it will keep you engaged and entertained during the learning process. Another tip is to practice speaking German with friends who also speak the language. Plus, a very important point is not being afraid to make mistakes. It's all part of the learning process. For me, this was and still is a fun and easygoing way to improve my conversational skills. Moreover, watching your favorite series in German is a fantastic way to improve your listening skills and get a better feel for the language. I personally recommend checking out some of the new German shows and series available for a fun and entertaining way to practice German. Remember, practice makes perfect, so don't be afraid to dive in and get yourself used with the German language.
Like for every language, you should have fun learning German, so find anything that you like, watching movies or series, reading, writing short texts, and so on, and do it in German if you don't understand a lot or you cannot speak the language so good yet. But this shows you that you are learning a living language, which is more than just the sentences of your student's book. On the other hand, vocabulary and grammar are necessary, so you should dedicate enough time to learn them as well, especially at the beginning. Last but not least, German articles are just frustrating. I have been speaking German for 14 years and I still do mistakes with their ditas. So don't worry if it seems impossible to overwhelm them. It is just normal. German articles are important but are not everything. So we will manage to do it even if you just do some mistakes with those German articles.
I think the thing that helped me the most in learning German was to force myself in speaking just German with my former flatmates, who were two German girls with whom I lived for 2 years after my first semester. And really, the fact that I knew that at least at home, I was forcing myself to only speak German and not use English or other languages gave me a huge boost, because then I was feeling more and more confident also when I was using it outside with other people or in shops or with anyone that spoke German in daily life. So I think probably at least finding one environment or one situation in which you force yourself to only use that language helps a lot, because I know that it can be stressful to be very concentrated all the time and use a language that is not yours all the time, but at least try to use it in certain settings is already quite a good training.
I'd suggest to try and immerse yourself in the German language completely. Also, thinking in German, even though it's not quite correct, reading in German, writing your notes and your grocery lists in German, and just trying to get yourself that immersion. If you're changing between two languages all the time, you can't concentrate on either of the languages that much. I know this is much more difficult nowadays for young people, since there's so many international contexts where you speak English anyway, and you might be studying in English too. I think I had an advantage that I was really living my first year in Germany in a totally, completely German environment. But you can do something yourself for that you consciously start to do things in German.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode. We hope you enjoyed the episode and perhaps some of the tips might actually help you out. Thank you for listening and hopefully until next time.